Remember, we'll be following up all these stories over on Sky Sports News as Chelsea prepare for their Club World Cup and are dealt some bad news by UEFA for financial irregularities. Stay with us here on Sky Sports News. We'll round up all the sports news next. Well, Mourinho's old club Chelsea are in action in the early hours of tomorrow morning as their Club World Cup campaign continues. Our chief correspondent, Kaveh Solokol, is out in Philadelphia for us. Kaveh, what can you tell us about this UEFA story first up?
Well, I hope you're sitting comfortably. You may need a degree in accountancy to understand all this. But basically what's happened is that Chelsea have been fined 31 million euros by UEFA for breaking their financial rules. Now that can increase to 91 million euros if Chelsea miss financial targets which have been set for them by UEFA. So this 31 million euro fine is made up of a 20 million euro fine for breaking UEFA's financial monitoring rules, and that could go up by another £60 million if over the next 4 years Chelsea miss the targets which have been set by UEFA. Also, Chelsea have been fined 11 million euros for breaking UEFA's squad cost rules. Those rules basically say that clubs can only spend a maximum of 80% of their revenue on transfers and player wages, and UEFA say that Chelsea have broken those rules and they've gone over the permitted 80%. UEFA say Chelsea have spent between 80 and 90% of their revenue on transfers and player wages. Also, if you remember the sort of slightly strange situation where the two hotels that are at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea sold those two hotels. They were involved in a transaction which was worth £76 million. Basically what happened is that they were sold by one subsidiary of Chelsea's holding company to another subsidiary of Chelsea's holding company. That meant that Chelsea could bank an extra £76 million in revenue, which obviously helps them when they're trying to comply with financial fair play rules and PSR rules. Now that kind of transaction is allowed under Premier League rules, but it is not allowed under UEFA's rules, and that is one of the reasons why Chelsea have been hit with this fine. Very, very simple, isn't it? I mean, why can't UEFA just release a press statement saying Chelsea have been fined this much for breaking this rule, Aston Villa have been fined this much for breaking this rule? No, instead we get long convoluted statements with addendums and attachments and findings and tables, and goes on and on and on. I'm just a football reporter doing my best to understand all this. I think I may need to take a sort of evening course in accountancy to keep up with all these financial regulations which have basically taken over football over the past couple of years.
Kaveh, this is why we pay you the big bucks, and I shall be on to you to help me with my tax return in a couple of months.
I wish.
Okay, let's just get to this very strange situation that Chelsea have got later on over in America.
Before I come to that, can I just come to one other thing as well, which is even more complicated, because this is really important for Chelsea and Aston Villa supporters. Is there a possibility that they could also be under a transfer embargo from UEFA? Now, I've been trying to get my head around this, read everything that UEFA have released, and there is a possibility that Chelsea and Aston Villa will be limited from registering players for UEFA competitions going forward, because in one of the releases from UEFA today, and I'll just read it out to you so you can get your head around it, it says that both Chelsea and Aston Villa have agreed to be subject to sporting restrictions which may mean that they won't be able to register any new players on their A list for UEFA club competitions. And I think what they go on to say is that both Chelsea and Aston Villa have to balance their books when it comes to transfers. So they need to sell players as well as buy players to comply with UEFA's regulations and to be able to register players for UEFA competitions. So I hope I answered that as well. Now, getting back to your question about Estevao, this is a really strange situation because one of Palmeiras' best players is this incredible young Brazilian player called Estevao. Now, Chelsea know all about him because last summer they signed him for £29 million, but they agreed to let him carry on playing for Palmeiras. Now, a lot of people in the Brazilian media are unhappy about this. They feel that Estevao is not fully focused on Palmeiras because he's already thinking about moving to London and playing for Chelsea as soon as this tournament finishes. I'm sure he's going to start making travel arrangements and looking for homes in and around Chelsea's training ground in Cobb.
Kaveh, thanks very much. Producer Johnny says thanks for ruining his rundown.
Sorry about that.
With Jamie Gitten's impending arrival, Chelsea will have 13 contracted forwards going into the new season. There are 4 recognised centre forwards in the shape of Liam Delap, Christopher Nkunku, João Pedro and Nicholas Jackson, and no fewer than 9 attacking players to surround them, including Estevão Willian, as we just heard, and don't forget Raheem Sterling, as he returns from his loan spell at Arsenal. Gosh only knows what the squad is going to look like by September's deadline.